Good morning, welcome. It's always a pleasure to be with all of you, learning together, sharing. I've been thinking about something that my cousin and I was talking, and he was telling me that he's hearing people, women particularly, black women, speaking about the reason for relationship they can't maintain, or whatever the excuse may be, is trauma. Now remember, I'm not minimizing trauma at all in any way. Of course, you're going to have some stupid people on here going to say, oh, look at what he's saying about trauma. That is not what I'm saying at all. But I'm going to share with you what I have recently were discussing, and we were wondering how were these super black men and these super black women were able to maintain a family under these circumstances. So let's get into it. We all heard about slavery in America. Every one of us understand black slavery in America. We understand the horror they went through, selling their children, killing their children, selling the husband, selling the wife, murdering, hanging, cutting the women open. All of these things, we heard these horrible things that has happened to the black people in slavery in America. But the question is, how did these super women and supermen still wanted to get married? And my cousin was telling me about jumping the broom. I guess they were getting married secretly. They still wanted to get married, and they were still having children. And under all of that trauma and fear for their life, fear for their children may be taken away, maybe sold, or maybe killed, they still wanted to have children, still wanted to get married, and still wanted love. How were they able to do that? Now, I'm going to tell you, for me personally, I don't think I could have been able to do it. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, it's easy, it was simple. And this is why I call them super black men, super black women. Because if it were not for them, most of us would not be here today talking about this nonsense that we're saying today, right? But as I said, I'm not minimizing trauma at all. What I am doing, I'm giving tribute, honor, respect, love, and thanks to these supermen, these super black women, super black men that was still able to go through this horrible, imagine your entire life in slavery. In any moment, your wife could be taken away from you, your husband could be taken away from you, your children could be taken away from you, even your own life could be taken away from you at any moment, at any second. But yet, these beautiful black people, wonderful, awesome being, because of them, we are here today in America. We are their legacy that they were able to push through the horrible state. And I'm going to tell you, how can we call that was life? None of us could even consider that would have been life for any of us. But yet, they were able to continue to honor and respect the creation of love, family, marriage God created, and they wanted to uphold that tradition, that way of life, what God created a man and a woman for. They were still able to have children through all this terrible, horrible life, nightmare of a life. These people were able to do that. And I'm thinking, wow, Victor, how can you even think? I can't even imagine, let alone getting married, but let alone to have children and knowing my children could be sold off, could be murdered, anything could happen to them, and I had no say-so, no power to stop and protect my family, to protect my children. But yet, they were able to do that, continue to flourish as people, to come in, to seek love, to build a family under these horrible, horrible conditions. And we can talk about another group of people, the Jewish people. They were in Egypt for 200 and I believe 10, 20 years under slavery. Condition impossible as well. They were being murdered. They would take their children. And they would take, when they were not working hard enough, Pharaoh, the king, would have, he said, if you don't make enough bricks, they would take their babies, put those babies in the place of those bricks because they didn't meet the quota. And Pharaoh would murder, I think, 60 to 70 babies in the morning, 60 to 70 babies in the evening, because he had this skin disease, and he was told by these evil men to bathe in the blood of Jewish babies. It took 60 to 70, no, I think 120, I believe. I can't remember exact the number, but he would bathe in their blood. Imagine that. They would take your babies, and also at the time, there was order to kill every firstborn male at the time as well. So yet, these women, they would, after, from sun up to sundown, a long day of slavery and abuse, they would come home, make themselves pretty in the mirror as best as they can to entice their husband to be intimate with him, to have children. They were still willing to have children, and they were still getting married, and they were still becoming or maintaining a home under these horrible, horrible conditions. So the question that I have for those of you who's watching this, would you give up your life for them? Would you trade position with them? Would you trade position? We have to look at it. You know, sometimes I have to look at my life and I have to remind myself, Victor, stop complaining. There's not much you could complain, because there's no way you would ever want to live in that type of life that these people had. It's impossible. I can't even imagine that. So I have to be grateful for what I have and honor and be thankful to the black superman and the black superwomen that was in this country under slavery, is why most of us are here today. Because of their courage, because of their strength, their integrity to maintain and to be there for one another, to watch each other back, the husband watching the wife back, and the wife watching the husband back, and the children vice versa as well, protecting each other to maintain, or as best as they can, this family integrity, this structure of this family, to build a family under these conditions. And I look back, and we don't even think about how much these people made a sacrifice for us to be here today. Yes, it's unfortunate. There are people who've been through trauma. But again, when I look at what they had to go through compared to what I have gone through, I said, Victor, you have absolutely nothing to be complaining about. And that is the truth. Because why? If I were to ask every single one of you who's watching this video right now, and I said, would you trade position with these people? I don't think any one of you would even consider that. Because why? You wouldn't be able to do it the same way I would not have been able to do it. But these people, they did it. And you know, when I look at it and I think about it, it breaks my heart. But again, I have a sense of strength, of pride, feeling good to know my ancestors, they were able to keep and maintain a family under these horrible, horrible conditions, you know? And again, my heart breaks out to these people, to the black people, men and women back then that was in the slavery, to the Jewish people back then that was in slavery, because how did they do it? I don't know. There's no way I can imagine, you know, something like that for me, a kind of life like that for me. It's just not possible. But again, you know, we have to look at where we are, and then the beauty of this, their sacrifice. They sacrificed so much to give us the opportunity to have a life much, much better than they can even imagine the life we have today. Can you imagine these people were to look in the future and saw the life we living today, and seeing that we are complaining and we cannot maintain a family, and they're wondering what was all this sacrifice for? They wouldn't understand why we couldn't get it. But I thank you. Please give your comments. Let me know what you think if you have the answer. God bless. And I'll see you next time.